Today's video, we're going to talk about how to greatly speed up results on shopping campaigns, or PMAX if you're running shopping placements, with less items. Being way to do it that I'm going to talk about on this particular video here today. A lot of you guys who sell a lot of things should be just selling fewer things starting out if you want your campaign to work and be profitable. That is enough sales revenue from the campaign to cover all your expenses and still be left with money left over so the campaign is not costing you money. You'd be better off selling fewer items up front so you can hit profitability way sooner. And I'm going to tell you about how much sooner than selling everything all at once, which is the default way most people think they should go about doing what they're doing. The other thing I'm going to discuss is talk about how if your results are simply plateaued on your shopping campaign and you're saying, I'll do anything, Corey, for another sale for my shopping campaign, or I want them to Google to show my ads more, but they're not. This is also going to give you information about how to do that because you're going to use the information that you already have about your business to narrow down to the items that are going to be able to be more scalable for your campaigns overall. You know, naturally Google can figure anything out on their own, but the reason why we have human optimizations on the campaign still is to let the algorithm figure out, using the information we know about our business and our customers, is likely to work and not work, so they can get to the end result of you making millions of dollars a year with this campaign sooner. So I'll talk about that here on this video as well. There's a simple process though that I go through with clients at our firm when we have to guarantee their results to get there as soon as possible, because we want to get paid as soon as possible. So I'm explaining how we do this, where clients has a lot of items, and sometimes it's only 10 items. We'll narrow things down just to give you a basis of comparison here. How we're going to narrow it down, how long we're going to narrow it down for, and then how we're going to scale up once we've narrowed it down. And we've got the benefit of narrowing down kind of like already behind us. So I'll go through all of that. And then if you watch to the end of the video, I will tell you specifically how much money you can make from this and how much sooner you can make it. The real case study that I'm going to share with you about a pool supply company. So make sure you watch to the end so you understand just how profitable this can be for you. Before I get into the content, I am Corey Zyman, owner of Guaranteed PPC, an online advertising agency that specializes in guaranteeing results for their clients. That is, we do not take a management fee until they get a certain, and from their campaigns and our efforts up front, or a certain minimum level of profitability with their campaigns that they're just starting up for the first time, which should tell you obviously something about the quality of the information that you're getting on this video here today. So with that said, getting into the content. So this is a system that I'm going to follow. I could just say, hey, use less products, you'll make more money sooner. That's not what I do at our firm because I'm always about getting all the results I can. You should be as well. And the devil is usually in the details when it comes to running ads. One small thing can make the difference between making $1 million a year and 100,000 or no money at all. So I want to give you enough details here to extract the full value you can out of this idea of not actually running every single product in your shopping campaign, but only some of them. Long term, like I mentioned before, you're going to run them all. It's just short term, it can be for a lot of people, better off that you start with fewer items up front. Or even if you've been running your campaigns for years already, narrowing down to the top 10, 20% to get your sales growing again, then start adding the items back in slowly. So with that said, what does this actually look like? What's this so-called system that we're using to predictably get results at our firm by actually telling our client to run less items versus more, which is the average person's going to think more is always better. If there's more to sell, we can get more sales. That isn't necessarily the case. You can take a campaign that's plateaued for a long time, get it unplateaued just by scaling back the items. Because the algorithm understands more how to get you results when they know what items to focus on up front, or at that point in time, more than others, versus because they absolutely test all the items you have in your feed. The problem is when there's 10,000 items, it's going to manually figure out, what items convert, which ones don't. And when you can say, just do these 50, these are the best sellers in our business, you'll get the algorithm to figure out what it needs to figure out way sooner in the process. In other words, much more results for you and sooner doing that than otherwise. So the first step in this process is to do your analysis though on the top sellers in your business. So if you have the liberty, you've been in business for a while, what you do is you go into your Google Analytics account or your Shopify account or whatever, you find out the highest converting items in your store, which Google Analytics more so has this data. But even if you don't have that, what you want to do is at least find out your top 10 sellers and then compare that to the amount of ad traffic that you've driven to those products somehow, some way. And your best bet is then, if you're, let's say, well, just to start with the one scenario versus the other, that is, if you're not making enough money from your campaigns up front to be profitable, you need to stop what you're doing, go into your Google Analytics account, and find the top 10% highest converting products in your store that you have today. Okay? If you don't have any data, what's the top 10 highest selling products by volume? And if you don't have that, if you have an offline store as well, what's top 10% most best highest sellers in your brick and mortar store? Once you have that, then you can go ahead and do the second step of the process, which is to temporarily exclude items on your shopping and PMAX campaign. Now I said exclude because what a lot of people don't realize is on the shopping campaign, you can exclude certain items. So you can upload 100% all of your items to Google Merchant Center, but you don't have to run them all in your shopping campaign because in your shopping campaign, you can exclude certain items, either some, all if you wanted for whatever reason, you can do that. So what a lot of people will do, the reason why I bring this up is what people will do to only run some items on shopping, they'll actually block certain items on Google Merchant Center, which that's going to screw up your results. You absolutely don't want to do that because the machine learning behind the campaigns is going to get screwed up when you start removing items like that in comparison to just excluding certain items on your campaigns. Not only that, but you can lose the free organic traffic you're getting. So it's just much better to exclude on the campaign level, not on the Google Merchant Center account level. Plus, you don't have to worry about your product feed and tweaking that, which, that's what people are doing is they're taking their product feed and their plugin they're using to upload products from their site to the Google Merchant Center account. They're blocking certain items and you just don't need to do that. You'll exclude those items. So if you're not making money today, general, amount is you take what you have now, you get it down to the top 10% best selling. Highest converting is much better than top selling because a lot of items just aren't, they don't appeal to the masses as much as other items. They convert like hell because it's the best product or at the best price, compared to all the people, other products in that category. So therefore you would make more money sooner promoting high converting items than just high volume items. Okay? So top 10 highest converting items on your store, if those are the only ones you run in shopping, you almost always get an immediate increase in your campaign ROAS going down to that top 10% highest converting, which is why I'm telling you to do it here. Now, once you've done that, the rest of the plan is you go into step 3, which is to increase your target ROAS by 15%. And if you don't have target ROAS bidding in your account, you need to have that because what we're doing at the end of the day is trying to make profit. If you're optimizing for a cost per transaction, you're not optimizing for that goal. Whatever gets the cheapest cost per transaction is not going to get you the highest ROI/profit. It can't. I still see people doing this, so that's why I bring it up because a lot of you guys are probably like, oh yeah, duh. But, to state the obvious here. But what I'll do is I'll take the average ROAS of that campaign that was running so far. So you've been running this shopping campaign, let's say for 4 months. You got a ROAS of 0.85. Once you've narrowed down to the top 10% highest converting products on your store, and when I say highest converting, I mean from all traffic, just to clarify again. You take 0.85 times 0.15. Once you got that, you add that to your 0.85, and that's your new target ROAS you should have for that campaign right away. So as soon as you exclude the other 90% of items that are not the highest converting historically for your store, you right away add a 15% increase in target ROAS at the same time because that'll push the algorithm to start going a little bit better ROAS than it had before. If your ROAS is much higher than your target ROAS, lower it to 15% more. Why lower it? Because it's going to give the products that are on the feed a lot more chance than it would otherwise. And that's kind of like the sweet spot with a shopping campaign, just to let you know in a general sense, is to keep the target ROAS about 7.5 to 15% higher. I usually do 15 than the ROAS of that campaign. And then with that, going to push the campaign to be more efficient. It's not going to push it that aggressively so that the ad spend goes down, or it drastically sends the campaign into learning mode or anything like that, while constantly trying to figure out what's the best converting stuff in here. Otherwise, it's just going to try to keep stuff going as is for the most part. Once you've done that, step 4 is every 30 days, increase the target ROAS another 15% if the ROAS has increased in that period of time, in the last month basically. So in other words, after doing step 3, you've excluded the items, you've set the target ROAS to 15% above where the ROAS of that campaign is already, which, by the way, when you're trying to identify what the ROAS was of the campaign before, you want to do the last 30 days roughly, so that you have statistically significant information you're working from. Then 30 more days, you see if the ROAS is now at the new ROAS that you set back here, which was 15% higher than the existing ROAS that you had. If it is, you're going to raise the target ROAS another 15%. Then you're going to come back after 30 days and see if your ROAS is up again. If it is, you're going to go ahead and raise the target ROAS again until you're profitable. If you are profitable at the ROAS that you're currently getting, then instead of increasing the target ROAS 15% at a time, you're going to raise the daily budget 15% at a time. But you do that, eventually you'll come back and check it every 30 days. Is my ROAS where it needs to be still on the new spend? If so, we'll raise the budget again. Okay, come back 30 days. Did the ROAS stay where it needs to be with the higher budget? If so, we'll raise it another 15% on the daily budget. Someday you'll come and you'll see that you raised the daily budget, but the ROAS wasn't where it needs to be. So you left the target ROAS alone and you left daily budget alone. Then you come back 30 days from now and you're going to see the ROAS is not where it needs to be, so I'm not going to raise the budget again. I'm going to wait another month. Then you're going to come back another month again, and you're going to realize the ROAS is still not where it needs to be. So this new higher budget isn't really where it needs to be. I kind of need to reverse that last budget increase that I did. And that's kind of like the theoretical maximum that I'm going to get, at least short term, for these 10% of items that I've scaled everything back to. Then once you've done that, step 5 is after 3 consecutive months of no increase in ROAS, assuming you haven't got to the ROAS that's profitable for your business, after increasing the budget and not being able to increase the budget anymore without the ROAS staying where it needs to be, you're going to go ahead and start slowly adding in the items that you excluded before in step 2, a few at a time. I would recommend, you excluded 90% of the items before, you want to go ahead, you left the 10% highest converting ones in your shopping campaign. Well, you should do the top between 10 and 20% highest converting, add those in. Then you're going to go through this whole process again, coming back once every 30 days and see if you can either get the target ROAS higher if you're not at the target ROAS where you need to be profitable with the campaign, or raising the budget 15%. And then once you hit the bottleneck on that, where you can't raise the budget anymore with the ROAS being where it needs to be, you go ahead and add the top 20 to 30% highest converting products on your site. And you do that, and you're going to therefore slowly add back in all the items into your shopping campaign, when you can't get any more out of the items that are the best converting items in your store. This will be a much better way. What I just described will be a much better way to unplateau results on a campaign. I mean, if your sales are growing profitably on your shopping campaign, you don't need this. Where you're at now for the last 6 months, your sales are not going up. You can get the sales to go up, but not without your ROAS going below a certain ROAS that you need to be profitable. Then you use this system. This will uncork your results. It'll allow you to keep scaling again because all of your spend is going to go to items that is most likely to convert first. Actually, when you come back to add items that weren't so easy to get to convert with your shopping campaign, it'll actually be easier to get those items to convert because the campaign will have built up so much more customer data and who's a customer for you and who's not, that when you add them in later, it'll be more likely to work. What I just talked about will do the uncorking and unplateauing of your results, but it'll also make sure a new campaign converts and hits a certain target ROAS that you need to be profitable much sooner. We're talking instead of 6 months or 12 months to hit a target ROAS that you need on a starting budget, we're talking about a month or 2 months. It makes that much of a difference. If you're not quite sure if this applies to you, of course you can reach out to me at my site at guaranteedppc.com and I can tell you what exactly we would get for results, roughly speaking, and what we would guarantee for your results working with our agency, going through this process, as well as all the other little tricks we know to make shopping campaigns better. And we can give you that information, of which we don't charge for that information up front. Then you'll know for sure. We also, by the way, sell ad templates. If we've already sold an item like you sell already, we can give you the winning campaigns, the campaign structure, the ad templates, all of it that we use to get results in your market already in a different country or whatnot. You could just copy paste all those into your account and get the same results we were getting, of which we can tell you the results you're going to get with it up front because, of course, we've ran campaigns selling that item in a different geographic area already. If we've already done that work, it would be absolutely silly to not buy those templates because they're very affordable as compared to what you're getting in terms of results right away with none of the learning that we had to do to figure out how to get to those results with the winning ads and all that will work for that item, and all the money that we had to spend in wasted ad spend to get it, as well as, of course, labor in terms of our time, man hours, and salary to do all the testing and all that. And we've got these templates for 100 different niche markets. So in case you were looking to get into selling something else, we can show you, hey, you want a great item to sell? This one. Just sell it in a country that our client isn't in. Use the template we use to sell it in country A, to sell it in country B. Boom, you have a business in a box. Or, we got people that use our templates to generate leads. They'll generate plumbing leads and sell them to plumbers, which is a great passive income business idea, by the way. You create the campaign structure to generate plumbing leads. You sell them for 50% more than what you're creating them for. Once people buy the leads, there's nothing to do. The leads get forwarded onto your client. Your credit card gets billed every 10 leads or so. Anyway, if you're interested in any of those other opportunities, you can also reach out to me at my firm at guaranteeppc.com. We'll tell you what results and what markets we've got results in, and then what the templates would be. What would we charge to get those level of results with those templates and so forth. With that said, getting back to the topic at hand here, ultimately, most people understand that a certain item or two, if it doesn't do well, they should take it from their shopping campaign. What I just described here, while it doesn't seem like rocket science, and it's not, this formalizes the process. Instead of guessing, and just looking at your shopping campaign data as a whole, you should be looking at all the data your company has on all the items that you sell to make a decision on what you should be promoting on shopping at least first, because that's just the smart thing to do. People make this mistake all the time. They will run, let's say, a search campaign, and they'll target their keywords in broad match, which when you're just starting out, unless you're fine with pissing tons of money away to get to a profitable campaign already, that's fine. You're going to waste 10 times more money to hit profitability with that campaign than you need to by just targeting 4 or 5 keywords that are the most likely to convert in exact match only, because already that that's more likely to convert than, 10 keywords in broad match. They'll target plumbing services in broad match when they're a plumber versus targeting just plumbing services near me, plumbing companies near me that are, a person that's searching that is super serious, crawling before you walk, so to say, getting those to work, adding a few more. So the shopping campaigns should operate the same way, particularly when you're in a situation where you can't afford to take a loss, that shopping campaign very long before it starts paying for itself. If you're in that situation, you have no business starting with all your items and not doing the proper research up front to know what you should be targeting exclusively up front, and then only adding in items a few more at a time to keep your sales growth going. And eventually, like I mentioned before, when you get to the harder to convert items, you're well prepared for it because you've built up a list of 10,000 transactions already that the system that Google has will be able to model your customers as a whole and start selling those items in a lot more productive way, which, by the way, you absolutely, if you have a customer list of people that have purchased in your physical store or, from organic traffic that you're getting or whatever, you take all those customers, upload them to Google, because Google's going to model all those customers, see the traits that make them unique from other people who search for products and services in your space but don't buy, and then use that to decide if your shopping ad should show up for somebody or not, and learn much quicker as well to go along with everything I'm saying here. But if you upload your customer data right away like that, you use the data you have about what items are converting at the highest rate on your site, then you have something that can work relatively soon, and that is get a profitable ROI for your business. I will mention, now that I'm thinking about it, I try to give general advice that will work for most people here and not overcomplicate things, because once you start getting too technical with it, people's eyes glaze over and then they just don't want to do it anymore. Highest converting doesn't mean, that's not everything per se, because the higher of the cost of whatever you sell is, the lower the conversion rate you can expect on that item, no matter how good you're marketing it. It's just the way that it is. The bigger the decision, the less likely people are to buy. If you're selling a $50 item and a $500 item, and you have a mix of different range of prices of items in your store, you can only expect certain items are going to convert at a higher rate because they're cheaper than other items. So if you have items that are 2 figures, 3 figures, 4 figures, in your store and you're marketing all of them, conversion rate at a surface level shouldn't be the only determinant. Which 10% of what you're selling now in that shopping campaign you should be actually focusing on. In that case, by the way, if you're selling something for $1,000 or more, the average conversion rate is going to be less than 1%. If you're selling between 100 and 1,000, your conversion rate is going to be between like 1 and 3%. And if you're selling something under $100, your conversion rate should be between 3 and 6%, typically. Just to give you a general round range. So as you're deciding which 10% of your item you're using in your shopping campaign now has the highest conversion rate, you should also take that into consideration, because that obviously should be a part of your analysis as well. But if you have any questions about what you're doing or selling or whatnot, you can also always leave me a comment in the comment section. I get back to every single person who leaves me a question or comment on this channel, usually within 24 hours time. But with that said, I'll get into the case study here. As I mentioned before, you can plateau your results by temporarily narrowing down the number of items that you're promoting in that shopping campaign, or you can get to profitability with the campaign that you're trying to get up and going much sooner in the process. With that said, we, in this particular case, this case study I'm mentioning here, we went for this first one, unplateauing the results. We had a client that sold pool supplies and had roughly 18,000 items in their store overall, of which they were marketing them all in that shopping campaign when we were brought on as an agency to help scale the results for that client. With that said, they were plateaued on their results as they normally would. Nobody comes to me when things are going great and the sales are going up, because why would they? They never just want a second opinion when things are going right. They just don't do that in our business. They went from the results plateauing for like the last 6 months and shopping / PMAX being 70 to 80% of where their sales were coming from in their business, to a 40% increase in sales over the next 6 months, just simply by narrowing down to the top 1,000 or so items in their store that were the highest converting items. They were high converting for the price level they were at. Like I mentioned before, you have to consider that when you decide which 10% to focus on right away. Naturally, and on the flip side of this, by the way, removing items can also be kind of dangerous, because just because an item isn't selling well and at not very much volume, the few sales that it does get, it could be at the ROAS that you need. So if you get rid of it, you're actually taking away a piece of the potential of that campaign. Still though, at the end of the day, for a new campaign at least, you don't have that much data, so you just want to use the data about what works in your overall business to scale that campaign down. If you have a campaign going that's been going for a while and you do have a lot of data on that campaign, but you're not getting the results, it's not scaling anymore, there's going to be a lot of items that have sort of done okay that you get rid of, that you lose potential by getting rid of those items. However, the learning of that campaign is going to happen so much quicker once you go to the top 10% of items, that whatever potential you lose from items that do get a few sales here and there, you're going to make up for it by the learning that the algorithm has to do with your campaign. It's going to happen so much quicker than watering it, spreading it out across all the items, and then the algorithm's not going to get very much smarter, very much quicker as a result, because all your click data is spread out over tons and tons of items. And if you have enough conversion data in that shopping campaign, instead of looking at the top 10 highest converting products on your site as a whole, you could certainly just do that in your shopping campaign. Anything that's converted, the top 10% highest converting products in your shopping campaign, you could just narrow down to them. The problem is though, you generally speaking need hundreds, if not thousands of clicks on each item to know if it's a high converter or not. If you actually were to the point where you've had 5,000 clicks per item on all 1,000 items in your store, then the algorithm already has figured out which items convert and don't, and so narrowing down to the top 10% isn't going to do anything for you anymore. This is a strategy that works short to medium term. Long term, they've already figured out everything, so you're narrowing it down to the 10% that you know from all the other traffic sources convert the best isn't going to help the algorithm figure out anything that they need to figure out any sooner, which is the whole reason why you do it. Anyway, that is something to really consider as well as you do this. Like I was mentioning before, you're concentrating the learning of that campaign into a smaller area of which you can make assumptions should do better sooner in the process. So it's not only just going after items that's more likely to convert and give you a good profit, but on top of that, and even more important, it's actually focusing on items will now accumulate data 10 times quicker. As a result of that, instead of having to wait a year for good progress on those same items, you can get really good progress in a month or two. There's a lot of other details, by the way, to get shopping and PMAX campaigns to work, which I have tons of other video content about that on my channel. You should search for it on my channel homepage. But on top of that, or more than that, you should absolutely subscribe to this channel, because with the stuff that we're finding consistently that works at our firm for our clients to guarantee the results, I give you for free on this channel. And I spend 40 hours a week doing ad testing at our firm to give you the information on this channel about what works, what doesn't work, to make millions of dollars a year running ads for your business. There is no better information you can find, because most of the other information you find elsewhere on other channels and whatnot comes from people who don't run ads. They own a firm, but they aren't in the weeds doing it. They're not managing 100 different campaigns at once like I am for clients, because I'm the lead strategist at our firm, to actually know what works and what doesn't work. So it doesn't get any better than the information that I have for you that I'm sharing with you on this channel. So you should subscribe already if you're serious about making money with your ads and getting rich doing it, because you can't find better information elsewhere. And I can say that confidently because I look around for good information and it's very, very sparse what's out there. It's mostly people trying to make money off of advertising or courses or whatnot that are pretending like they run ads and they don't. You should also, while you're at it though, check out my blog at guaranteeppc.com/blog. The blog has the information of different campaigns we ran with step-by-step instructions of executing those strategies, with screenshots, everything you need to do the strategies we're using to get results for clients at our firm. You can see it there. So it's a great secondary resource that you can use in conjunction with the video content I have on this channel, which kind of like more so goes over things at a high level. You get super good detail if you check out my blog. But with that said, that gives you a really good idea of how much this actually can change the trajectory of your account when you haven't been advertising for 10 years already to got millions of clicks on your shopping campaigns or PMAX campaigns, in order for you to ultimately find the truth of what items sell, what don't sell, what cost per click is worth paying for this item versus that item, which are all things you have to figure out to get to the big result with that campaign. Of which, by the way, you should run PMAX campaigns to run shopping placements, which is why I say shopping/PMAX, because the machine learning that you get with a PMAX campaign is so much superior than a regular shopping campaign. You cannot get the same results with that PMAX as you can with regular shopping. I don't care what. And specifically when you run a PMAX campaign called a feed only, where you don't put any headlines or any images or anything in that PMAX campaign. And PMAX for anything else outside of running shopping placements or for product companies or e-commerce companies basically is total garbage. Don't use it for that. Pointless. It's worthless. You can do much better with standalone search campaigns and video campaigns because you have a lot more control over what you're doing. And therefore, Google loves PMAX. That's why their sales reps, their account managers keep trying to force everybody onto it, because you can't see where your investment's going. They run your brand ads, makes the campaign look great. And then 30% of it that goes to garbage that they can't sell to anybody else, that gets hidden with they found the gold bar and they hide the cat turd underneath it. And they sell you both in one package. They're very smart about what they're doing to get their stock price to go up. So anyway, with that said, I'll wrap it up with that, I think. Let me know if you have any questions in the comment section, and I'll see you in the next one.
Remember when I said shopping campaigns was important during this video? Well, this video here tells you how to do it.